Okay, so here's a little rundown on how I made the blade to be true or parallel to the slot of the table. So as we can see here, I have a mark on the blade. It's a little black mark there. If you look at the dial indicator, it's reading 0 or half a thou counterclockwise. And if we slide this gauge over and put it in exactly the same spot, we get the same measurement over there. So what did I have to do in order to get that to be so correct? Oh yeah, by the way, notice that I rotated the blade as I moved the miter fence here. And the reason for that is you want to take into account any run out that would be happening in the blade as you spun it around. So you don't want that to factor into your measurement. You want that to be taken into account. Okay, so how did I do that? Basically, first of all, this component here that holds the blade, which I think we talked about before, this control arm type thing, and has a pin that goes through here, and then it allows it to pivot about that point. Well, that pin was loose, so I considered boring it out with a reamer and putting in a different pin, but it was kind of hard to find the correct size. I'd have to go to a fairly large pin, and then I'd be running out of room on this cast part, and then I'd be kind of, questionable whether it'd be strong enough. So I decided to do what my grandpa would have done and just added some shims. So I took some shims from work that were 5 thou, 6 thou, curled them up into a little shape like this, so I have a nice radius. Made it slightly oversized to the bore so that when I put it into the bore it would expand out. And then very carefully reassembled it, making sure that the shims weren't sliding out as I put the pin back through. So I did that on the two outsides, which rotate, and then the inside, which is fixed to the top, that has a like a set screw bolt that holds it to the top. So I just tighten that down, and then that holds that portion snugly, and it doesn't allow it to slop around. So at the end of the day, this blade no longer moves when you apply force on it. Okay, so that much has been corrected. And then how did I get the blade to be parallel to the slot here? Well, there's 4 bolts that hold the trunnions. Trunnion 1 here, trunnion 2 has 2 more bolts there. So basically you just pivot about one of the bolts as you need to. So if this side is out that way, then what I would do is I loosen these 3 bolts and keep this one fairly snug, and then take my hammer and just hammer that trunnion that way to try and bring it back in, and then I tighten them. A little bit of trial and error there. Had to actually loosen all of the trunnion bolts to sort of shift the whole thing over, but eventually I think I got it. And so here's a picture underneath again. But in this case, I added a clamp to both sides, holding this trunnion piece, like I said, that kind of has that arc shape to it, holding it together so that while I was hammering on these things here to make them move relative to the tabletop, I wouldn't sort of get that out of plane. So hopefully that worked. I mean, it's within like half a thou. If anything, I'd like to have it so that it was a half a thou out that way, so when I'm doing a miter, miter cut here, then it's more likely to not catch on the last part of the blade. But yeah, thanks for watching.